Have you ever wondered what would happen if we drained all the oceans, leaving Earth completely dry? What effect would this have on our planet and its inhabitants? Let's find out. These fascinating questions have already attracted scientific interest, yielding some good and bad news. The good news: it's theoretically possible to drain the oceans. The bad news is that the time frame is inconceivably long. Craig McLean, executive director of the University of Louisiana Marine Consortium, worked out the numbers. If our planet's entire water volume was to drain through a hole the size of a bathtub's plug hole, we'd lose approximately 43,200 liters or 1,141 gallons every day. Despite being an intriguing thought experiment, the reality is that such an event could have profound and unpredictable consequences for our world. Consider this mind-bending thought experiment. If the oceans were to drain through a plug hole the size of a bathtub, it would take over 80 trillion years. Approximately 6,000 times longer than the universe's alleged current age. However, it's worth noting that we're assuming a rather small drain for such a vast volume. Let's envision a larger hole, such as the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. Writer and illustrator Randall Munroe introduces a clever variation to this experiment, suggesting a special portal that would transport the water not just anywhere, but to Mars. After all, if we were to merely relocate the water nearby, it would fall back as torrential rain and reconstitute the oceans. By the way, the combined volume of Earth's oceans is approximately 1.332 billion cubic kilometers. To put that into perspective, if you could fill the Grand Canyon with water, you would need around 900,000 Grand Canyons to equal the volume of the oceans. This hypothetical portal would decrease Earth's water level by less than a centimeter or 0.4 inches per day, far from the dramatic whirlpools, catastrophes, and climate changes one might expect. Disappointed by this slow drain, Munro proposed opening additional imaginary drains until the ocean levels dropped by 50 meters or 165 feet. Imagine the drastic geographical transformations if the world's oceans were to drop by 50 meters. The Netherlands, renowned for their water channels, would find themselves dry and comfortable. Land bridges would materialize, connecting Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Great Britain, Java, and Borneo to their neighboring countries. Further draining by another 50 meters would unveil a vast new island near Scotland, formed by the Grand Banks off Newfoundland. As the ocean levels recede, new land masses would continuously appear. In this new world, the Netherlands could connect with North America, and Japan could tie Russia to the Korean peninsula. Moreover, the vast marine life, constituting over 80% of all life on Earth, would be decimated as their habitats disappeared. The loss of these species would not only be tragic in its own right, but it would also significantly impact terrestrial life, particularly coastal communities depending on the sea for food and livelihoods. When the water level falls to -5 kilometers or 3 miles, the Arctic Ocean would become isolated from the rest of the world's bodies of water. Eventually, the Mariana Trench, our hypothetical drainage point, would no longer suffice. Vast amounts of water would remain elsewhere. What would remain if the oceans disappeared? Ice caps, lakes, rivers, and groundwater constitute only 3.5% of our current water supply. Without sufficient rainfall, these water sources would not be replenished, leaving plant and animal life struggling to survive. In cases of wildfires, with no significant water body to combat them, the consequences could be catastrophic. It is also important to consider the immense societal implications of this scenario. Many of our major cities are located along coastlines and would suddenly find themselves landlocked. This would drastically affect global trade, which largely relies on shipping goods across oceans. The global economy could collapse, leading to social upheaval and potentially conflict as nations scramble for resources. As Earth's water evaporates, the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere would decrease, making breathing difficult. No shelter could combat this escalating issue. Though it seems pessimistic, some suggest a daring rescue plan, colonizing a water-rich planet, ironically saving it from its surplus water. How to drain another planet's water, you ask? Some propose constructing a colossal orbital mirror to evaporate the water using the sun's rays. Others suggest increasing the planet's cloud coverage with chemicals, thereby cooling it and freezing the water. Yet another group proposes using a massive heater to boil the water away. In conclusion, While the notion of draining the world's oceans is a fascinating thought experiment, the reality would likely be disastrous for all life on Earth. The oceans are a vital part of our planet's ecosystem, regulating climate, hosting a vast array of biodiversity, and providing food and livelihoods for millions of people. The prospect of their disappearance offers a stark reminder of the need to protect and preserve our world's oceans, which are currently under threat from overfishing, pollution, and climate change. Instead of considering how to drain the oceans, our efforts should focus on preserving and protecting these vital ecosystems. By taking action now, we can safeguard these invaluable habitats for future generations and ensure the catastrophic scenarios we've imagined remain only hypothetical. Well, that's it. Our world without oceans would be a radically different and potentially inhospitable place. But what do you think? How would a world without oceans affect you personally? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.